MS Dhoni, who was known for his composure on the field, in one of his interviews said that even he felt the emotion of anxiety, sadness, frustration on the field, but he realized that none of them were constructive. And what was important for him was to find ways to help the team win. In fact, there's a very beautiful definition of mind which I read somewhere, which says that our minds are wonderful servants but dangerous masters. In fact, personally as well, I have been trying to find ways to hack my mind to be a better person professionally, emotionally, financially, even spiritually. And for the same reason, today I'm going to be talking with an expert in behavioral neuroscience. Her name is Konashni Parekh. And Konashni and I will be discussing on ways how we can handle our emotions in a much better way, how we can let emotions of anxiety, stress, depression not affect us, especially in times like these where COVID rates are increasing very high, very every day, and there's a lot of paranoia out there. The interesting part about Konashni is that she was actually the vice captain of India's under 16 national women's football team that took part in FIFA qualifiers a few years back. Konashni is a very clear-headed, humble, and girl who is passionate about her work, and I have got to learn a lot from her. So, without any further ado, let's just dive into the conversation. Hi, Konashni.
Hi, Sambhav. How are you?
Very good, Konashni. So, Konashni, okay. So, very recently, MS Dhoni retired, and I've been a big fan of Dhoni. And one thing everyone talks about Dhoni is that he's someone who had equanimity of behavior. So, even in success and failure, he had the same approach to life. But I read an interview by Dhoni where he said that even he feels anxious, nervous, excited, frustrated many times, like any other person. But what he realizes is that what is important to do at that particular moment. What is the need of the hour? Now, this is something this is the way we all want to live sometimes our lives. But this is not, it is easier said than done. So, what do you think Dhoni is doing there, which people like me or anybody else can take from him and imbibe in our lives and possibly learn to handle emotions in a much better way where things don't affect us as much as they do right now?
So actually, I also was reading up about Dhoni, and his style of behavior on the field. It's quite admirable. And one thing I came across, something that he said, is that we look at him right now as this calm person on the field who knows how to handle every situation. We call him, Captain Cool. But he said it himself that even in childhood and growing up, he was not always like this. He also used to get emotional. He used to get affected by matches. He used to not like losing at all. But over time, with experience, he learned how to handle every situation. So I think one thing we can learn from his complete composure on the field is that to be able to enable yourself to handle a lot of these situations in life, emotional situations in life, whether it's on the pitch, on the cricket field, or if it's in a day-to-day in an office space, workspace, or any environment, it is the magic of training over time, the practice. So it's not some skill that you get overnight. I want to become calm and composed and not flare up or be angry at any situation. Now I'm going to change that. From tomorrow I'm going to be like this. That's great, you have that motivation, but how do you get there? This is a whole mental training process that even I tell the athletes that I work with in sports psychology, that to train your mind and make it strong, make yourself emotionally resilient, it doesn't happen overnight. So something we can learn from Dhoni is something that he grew on, like he trained over time. So yeah, there's so many things that to learn here.
But Konashni, see, there is Virat Kohli on one side, and then there is Dhoni. Virat Kohli is someone who is very expressive. So he will show his emotions on the field. He wears his heart on his sleeve. So he is expressive, and Dhoni is calm. What do you think is the difference in their personalities? And do you think one approach is better than another? So people say. So I've read somewhere that you need to express your emotions to truly be happy. If you're someone, if you just subdue your emotions all the time, you might not be able to, you know you're not living your life, and then you're just like a robot just walking around.
Right,
So
right.
is he subduing his emotions, or he's just learning to control his emotions better? What do you think?
So there are two different things. One is personality style and just your personality, how you show yourself, your leadership style. And second is how you handle your emotions. So going by the first one, all of us have different personalities, right? and each personality unique to us, it works for us. Now you have a particular personality style, you talk to your friends like that. If you start behaving differently, they'll be like, this is not Sambhav, ye kaun hai? Who came suddenly here? I am a different personality style when I talk to my friends. So even so, what Dhoni does on the field matches his behavior, his personality style, and it works for him. The teammates around him respond to him like that. You know, he's a calm, cool captain. If Dhoni starts behaving like Kohli, you know, like with that passion, aggression, it doesn't suit him. It won't work. And on the other hand, Kohli, you know, he's more passionate, he's assertive and aggressive. But if he starts, and that works for him, right? But if he starts, you know, behaving in a more mild, composed way, then that won't work for him because his personality style doesn't fit that. So for both athletes, both players, both work. You know, they're both respected in the country. They're both respected by the players, and they're both great captains. So there's no one that works better. It's what works best for you. Like I said, if Dhoni starts behaving like adapting Kohli's behavior, it'll fail. It'll be like, you know, I can't look up to this person. You know, he's not being authentic to himself. So leadership style can vary, personality can vary for sure. And I think that both, you know, work. It's what works for you. That's the first thing. The second thing what you said is, you know, suppressing our emotions. Is it like Dhoni is suppressing his emotions? Is he becoming robotic? Absolutely not. There are two things about emotion. So emotion is a very internal process. It's how you feel inside. So one is how you feel, that's the emotion, and second is the behavioral output. Now the behavioral output can vary. Now we all feel sad, right? Something happens, we all feel sad, but we react differently. Someone might cry, like just bawl out. You know, they see a movie, they just cry. They don't know what to do. They call their friends. They eat ice cream. You know, they go crazy. And some people like, okay, that's fine. And the person who says, okay, that's fine, that's his behavior. But we can tell nothing about his emotion. Just because he's not outwardly expressing emotion, we can't say कि ये emotion feel नहीं कर रहा. So you can be a very emotional person, but you can be able to control it so that it doesn't affect you. See, now one player A and player B will both get angry, you know, when the referee, you know, makes a wrong decision, or some other player opposite team ka they insult them. They both get angry. But how do you control that anger? It's not that you kill your anger. It's you recognize, you're conscious that you're angry because of what happened. But now uska behavioral output kya hai? That is different. So just because your behavioral output is suppressed, or let's say more sophisticated, doesn't mean your emotion is suppressed or killed. So these are the two different things in psychology that we know.
So, so, so in schools, we are, told to control our emotions better, not express much. And again, I'll go back to Kohli, and he is someone who really expresses himself on the field. So that style works for him. He has another style which works for him. So how do we, as people, identify what style suits us better? What is our personality?
Right.
Because the society tells us to do something, and we do something else. We are something else.
True.
How do you do that?
True. Yeah, society does say that, you know, like be strong, you know, don't cry, don't cry like a girl. They say like that also. So what they're telling you in that sense is like, don't let your emotions affect your behavior. Correct? But what happens is, instead of controlling our behavior, we just go and kill our emotions. We need to be emotional, because being emotional, having emotions, is being human. If you're not experiencing emotions, you're not getting the whole human experience, right? Emotions are super valid. Like, we need to experience some kind of emotion, otherwise we're dead, like you said, otherwise we're robotic. So school tells us that don't let your emotions affect your behavior. But what end up happening, they don't tell us how to change our behavior, how to behave, how to make it better. So we end up going and killing the emotion. Then instead of saying that, you know, my friend, betraying me or something like that has no effect on me, because you're killing that emotion, you're killing that friendship. That's one. Or you could control the behavioral output. Yes, I'm upset by this, I'm sad by this, but what am I going to do? Am I going to lash out? What's the best choice? What's the best approach? So do you see the difference between killing that emotion and then changing the behavior? So they keep telling us that, you know, don't let your emotions affect your behavior. So let's work on how to channel our emotions instead of just outrighting just denying them, or ignoring them, suppressing them, all these things.
So, so yes, behavior is one thing you need to train and learn. But how do you do that? I mean, is it? I think it's easier said than done. For see, we
Yeah.
the people out there, they don't understand they learn something and they forget it the next day. So how do you really make it part of your life? How to really inculcate this habit of controlling or managing your emotion at that moment when some high emotion strikes you? So what do you do at that moment? So let's take a specific example for that. I would say a lot of people have been feeling a lot of fear and anxiety right now, especially due to COVID. A lot of health related anxieties are happening, and a lot of professional anxieties are happening. People are losing jobs left, right, and center. And मेरी job कल रहेगी नहीं रहेगी. This is a common concern among a lot of people. So, and this is something very genuine for people also. I mean, they believe that their profession is at stake. So, what do you do at that moment? How do you tell yourself to not let the anxiety of future affect you right now? कल क्या होगा? ये mind के constant chatter को कैसे कम किया जाए? What do you tell yourself?
Right. So the best practice for this kind of thing is how to train and how to modulate your attention. So when we're constantly anxious, when we're like, "अरे job रहेगा, job नहीं रहेगा, कल क्या होगा, पता नहीं क्या होगा," your attention is in the future, on something that hasn't happened yet. So we're constantly living in a created version of reality that doesn't exist at all. We're basically living in the future, and living in the future causes anxiety because you don't know anything about the future. And on the other hand, people who are sad, who are depressed, either whether they lost their job or something happened, it's because they are living in the past. Their attention is modulated towards stuff that's already happened and that you can't change. So now we talked about living in the future, that causes so much anxiety because you don't know what's going to happen. Then we talk about living in the past. We're constantly sad or upset about what's happened, or constantly reliving the good things that happened and living in that dream world. But now, okay, you don't want to live in the past, you don't want to live in the future. So where should we live? So you have the answer there yourself. Here, right now, live in the present. If you can modulate your attention to constantly focus on the things around you, then what is going to happen, what has happened, won't affect you at all. So living in the present is the only solution to be free from all these thoughts of anxiety and worry, tension, stress. So, so people ask like, okay, great, how do you live in the present? So that's when, the lot of techniques, mindfulness practice, breathing exercises, and the best thing for sure, meditation, which is shown it changes your neural circuitry in your brain also. So whatever we try to do, right, whatever we say, whatever we're practicing, mental training, any kind of training, it has a very biological, biochemical basis in our brain. So we're learning something, there's actually some change going on in some part of the brain. So whether it's our hippocampus being activated or something else, actually meditation shows that our gray matter volume increases, and there's something called the default mode network. So default mode network is our attention system, which is always hyperactive. It's overactive, right? It's called like the monkey mind, always thinking, always going around. But when you start practicing, the art of learning how to control your mind, and that is by modulating your attention to put it where you want to put it, so it doesn't go to the future and cause that anxiety, doesn't go to the past and cause that sadness. That actually shows in these functional MRI studies that it lowers that whole activation of your hyperactive mind and gets it under control. So this is a short way to uh, you know deal with that anxiety, whether it's work related, whether it's relationship related, family related. So this is the best practice anyone can do.
So now I'm going to ask you something which I'm sure many people want to know. See, a lot of us have tried meditation in the past. I struggled with meditation for good 1 year before I really learned to channel my attention inwards and focus and sit at one spot for half an hour. But many people either do not know the right way to meditate, or do not have the patience to meditate, or do not see it working for them in some way, and they just give up too soon. So, for anyone who wants to start meditation, what is the simplest approach you will give to meditate? Is it like focusing on your breathing, which is mindfulness, or focusing on your having a chanting something while you are sitting close right? What can you give us some easy techniques for people to do when they want to meditate?
Sure. So before I can give you any one technique, and we know that there are like 100 techniques out there, either focus on your breath, focus on an object, focus on a flame, do dance meditation, do art meditation. There's so many different things, right? So before I can suggest any one technique, I think the best practice that you can have overall generally when it comes to like, okay, I want to do good in meditation, is practice. You have to just keep doing it again and again. The whole concept of meditation, whether you're focusing on your breath, whether you're focusing on a symbol, a design, object, it is about focused, sustained attention. So sustained attention will happen only when you continuously practice to keep it in front. Like I can continuously look at the screen, right? Because there's something engaging, because it's exciting, because it's fun. But when you ask me to just stare at something or follow my breath, which I'm not used to doing, which is not boring, people say, "I'm meditation boring. What do I do?" Because that constant diversion is happening. Because our whole life we've trained our mind to just run free. Think about whatever you want to think about. We're not assuming that control. So when you try and assume that control, so your mind is constantly going to divert to the future, to the past, and these are only two places it can go, right? What's going to happen, what someone is going to say, or what someone said, what something happened or which will happen. It's constantly going to go in any one of these directions. So the key to any technique you do is practice. Keep bringing it back, keep bringing it back, and over time, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and it'll happen. So now coming to the best techniques, I think that following your breathing, personally, it works best for me, because you don't need any external object or anything. You can do it anytime. You can do it with your eyes open also. You can do it with your eyes closed. You can do it sitting in the bus. You can do it even talking to someone, if you practice. So you're walking on the beach, anytime, focusing your breath. So you can be full time, constantly in that attentive, conscious mode. So that's my favorite practice. But like you said, sometimes it's difficult for some people. So then definitely try a lot of different things. Try what works for you. If guided meditation works, go for that. If using imagery works, go for that. If using a simple mantra works, go for that. The end of the day is trying to have sustained attention. When you do that hyper concentration, it changes it literally. Like you feel that buzz. It'll come to a point where you feel some kind of buzz in your brain, and that's because a lot of things are changing inside. The whole wiring is like, getting corrected, let's say, to make your life better. So yeah, there's so many techniques like that. I can keep telling you so much about meditation and how awesome it is, but yeah, let's talk more about what are the specific examples you had.
Yeah, I think one place where people go wrong is they try to avoid any thoughts. They just try to shut their minds and be thoughtless at that moment. But I believe that is impossible for anyone, even the best of meditators. You cannot have a mind with no thoughts. The idea is to let the thoughts come and let them pass. Gently watch them in your mind rather than trying to avoid thoughts entirely at that moment. So I think that is what
Right.
is wrong. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Being
So
a third observer, kind of like, just viewing it passing by, eventually it'll get tired and stop moving.